Hey, Chris and Dimitri, thank you so much for the turnarounds. Today we are talking about the Paltech medium tank mercenary unit. So it's a line of Paltech goodies. So maybe real quick, just because we're looking at a bunch of things, let me turn off all of the feedback bits so we can just look at it real quick. And I think that might be it. Oop, maybe a little too much. All right, and got ones in the middle. Turn those off. All right, cool. So I will then we'll take a quick look. I just want to kind of give you the things that I'm enjoying. So I definitely enjoy this kind of socket ball thing that we got going on, and definitely really into these like magnetic anti-gravity repulsor fields. Some idea that you've got the magnetism that is creating different types of materials and use states. We won't think too deeply into it, but I just kind of enjoy the riffing. Also enjoying this cannon shape, super cool. I think we got a bit with the cockpit. I'll give you some more feedback here, but I'm definitely enjoying. I'm enjoying this kind of like exploration of this like large tri shape that we have with like the back disc itself, and then these kind of front discs that can be used for different utility and steering, interesting maneuvers. Same thing here. I think it's a cool riff. I really enjoy the 4-barrel design here on both of the guns. I got some more feedback on that here. I like that we incorporated some of the missiles here in this kind of like sidecar missile thing. It's not really working for me, but I like the thinking there. Also, same thing. We got this kind of like this kind of shield underneath this like machinery, kind of covering up some some inner materials or something like that. I enjoyed the shape a bit. So good honorable mention. Also super cool on I think the rotating these kind of gear grinders. I can imagine these things bashing into other enemies and then or grinding through them. So very cool honorable mentions there. Enjoyed the back area here. Again, me decals and kind of where that's at. So nice seeing a little scale for reference with Duders. Honorable mention, both of these kind of rail cannons I like, but I didn't like nearly as much as these top ones. So, and I'll give you some more feedback there. Same things here. I really enjoyed honorable mentions. Like I like the way I had this kind of twofold kind of undercarriage piece here, like a little bit of cockpit. We have this kind of overtop shield with some, I don't know, like this could be for like an exhaust, or maybe you could even be like a flat laser relay or something like that. So I was enjoying that. Again, suggesting this kind of machinery, these segmented bits here. Also like that we had this kind of open flange design. This thing could be a rotator. That would be really, really cool. And and then here, enjoying also again this kind of like this similar to the feedback above. I like this exploration here. Not as hot about the kind of front kind of mechanized version here. The gear rotator front appendages were kind of interesting, but overall, I think shape it didn't quite give me as much as I like with like kind of the maybe like this kind of upper shape. I think we're getting closer. All right, so let me turn on the feedback so you can see this. Yeah, I think I missed one. Did I miss one? Nope, they all look checked. All right, cool. All right, so more specifically, so just as we normally do, Chris, you're still pretty new to the process, so I've just checkmarked the things that I really like, and I'm going to talk about them in a tiny bit. And then for our next version, let's remix kind of all these check marks. It doesn't have to be into one design, but all the elements mixed together and see what comes from that. So, all right, so you already got my feedback. I want to keep the whole cannon design. So also probably while I was sitting here thinking about this design-wise, so let's riff on both of these cannons. So in both of the concepts, let's include both cannons, not on one single machine, but alternate version, right? So this kind of got me into thinking about how cool would it be if these magnetic array things were also like teleporting projectors or matter creators. So they teleport matter, very like Star Trek maybe. So they re-emit matter into a shape, and that maybe we could actually do this thing where we could have the main tank, but maybe one of the things is that the main tank can have like a 2-phase gun, and I can maybe figure out how to wire up where then we have this cool like summon effect. So you're doing damage to it, starts in one form, and then maybe that cannon blows away, and then the next cannon forms on top. This could be like a large kind of laser array or plasma beam. Ooh, plasma beams. This could definitely be like the Gatling bits, or like we could have them show up where the whole thing teleports in, and then it does the summoning of the gun, and then the gun tracks. These are going to be turret enemies, so the gun tracks, which might be issues, but the gun tracks for the player. So just some food for thought. It might not be worth the squeeze, but I think that'd be kind of cool visually. Like I get excited when I think about it. So, but yeah, mainly we're still working on concepting. So, and I definitely will need a prototype putting something in the engine. So, okay. You already had my feedback on kind of like this apparatus and that. I really enjoyed, I think, again, I'm kind of a sucker for the, we've got a lot of like, it's sci-fi cyber corpo punk. So there's a lot of neon, a lot of cyberpunk 2077, very, very typical cyberpunk neon kind of flavor. So enjoy that piece. Kind of enjoying the machinery here with these arms. Also, I think the machinery down here for the arms, I think these have better plates. But in general, I think some other things to think about here is I think we're a little too alien and maybe insectoid in our shapes. When I'm looking at these shapes, I'm getting more like insect vibes. And I know we're kind of moving that direction for a few of our things, but I don't want the whole thing to become crazy alien. And so I kind of came back to, this concept that we just kind of banged out here, right? I think the way we should think about it is Paltech, sexy, smoother corpo mercenary lines, right? Or something that affects. It should be just a mercenary. It's, I don't know. It's, and I put this little thing here, like, wow them before blowing your enemies away, right? Like you want people to see these things because people come to Paltech world to essentially hire mercenary lines, right? This is where many worlds basically set up their defense contracts. And I think at least in the early parts of the city, we have slightly darker themes that we'll morph to. But Paltech co-ops technology from all across the galaxy. Some of it is a little bit more, fanciful, like with lycanthropy. But I think what I'm thinking here, right, is I really want to try to channel some of that, like that it's like the Ferrari of tanks. Like what would that look like? So let's see if we can channel that a little bit more. A very sexy high-end car, high-end machinery. And I think where we landed with like the Paltech Police Department, I think that, coming back to look at this thing, we're definitely like these shapes, they feel, they're a tiny bit more hard in some cases, right? But I think they're starting to feel like there's a little bit more like these design elements feel pretty good. And maybe the mercenary line can be a little bit more angular, but I definitely don't want to go too insectoid. Like there's some crazy insectoid stuff as we're looking at like, these guys, like this is like, whoa, this is crazy, like more towards the Matrix style of like sci-fi where machines are building machines. And so they kind of find new functionality. So I don't know. I think we should err on the side of a little bit more, supercar sexy. And then we do have these touches of like the insectoid and alien aspects of that. So just food for thought. I think these are big, to buy these machines, they're super expensive. So, and one of the tricks to selling a supercar is not just what's under the hood, but it's of course the style of the body and whatnot, and whoever you can convince to foot the bill. So, so I thought I would point that out there. This was kind of a big piece there. I want to try to embody. You already know my feelings there. I definitely want to explore. Like these are a bit more softer shapes, still a bit more military here, but I like that we have these kind of glows, maybe some thruster bits underneath. And then down here, I also like that these are kind of like some saw blade bits that they rotate. Right? I think there's some really cool stuff we can do here. I like the idea that this thing can have arms that like they punch or they come up and they grind, right? Like, oh yeah, it's exciting. I get excited about it. And again, you got my feedback on the segmentation here. And then coming back here, I kind of really like again this kind of exploration of these shapes. I like that the idea that these things kind of flange out, and I could see almost a mixture of like this in this, where like these flaps, they have I don't know what they do. Maybe they're focusing flap jets to improve your propulsion. I don't know. Like maybe they help you super jump. Like that'd be pretty cool. Maybe like a super jump and a hover aspect to that. And then here, I think the last piece of this is enjoying, again, these kind of more circular shapes, kind of where we have the segmentation. I like this idea. I really like this idea of this, like, this, I don't know, almost like a ball socket, but the whole thing is about anti-gravity. And you know, I think we can have the electricity, but I like the idea that these things are kind of like, you know, repulsed and snapped together. And they also like matter like summoners, right? So super cool stuff. And I think that's it. Yeah, I know that's a lot. So, and if you got this far, so what we wound up doing is we were going down the road of concepting one of our tanks, you know, and look, like, you don't always exactly know what you're going for when you're exploring. So we changed tack, you know, with, so these guys here, but we changed tack. We have, these guys are a bit like chonkier. We're going to keep the design kind of in the back of our brains. It's not there yet, but I kind of want to explore like these triple like tank designs. Not something we need to do for this. So what we're doing is we're coming back to like a medium kind of hover tank class. Maybe it's a bit more like able to be deployed maybe on a battlefield or deployed in a city because the whole planet is a city, right? And then yeah, so we've changed tack on that, and we're gonna continue to jam on the new designs. And you know, sometimes you just got to find your way, and you know, that's the nature of art. Like, no matter what you imagine, you know, it's never you never know how you feel about it until you're really kind of working through it. So, you know, and we started, like, for instance, we had a version of, you know, we've had quite a few versions, and we're still exploring just to kind of get there. So anyways, I think that's the feedback there. Oh, one last thing. Yeah, before I completely lose my track here. I'll post both these for you, of course. All right, cool. So, I also want to imagine what these look like in game in the city. So I did a couple things here. I just did a very rough cutout. So one, so you can ignore these real quick. So that, oh, that, yeah, okay, that was probably that one. Okay, cool. So what I wound up doing is I took this guy here, and I wanted to see, okay, in a 512 by 512 texture, it's a screenshot from the game. You know, how much of that texture sheet would it fill? Because I mean, if you're gonna do you know, especially if you're gonna do 4 frames of animation, which is usually our stock for a lot of enemies, especially if they're not super organic. So I think we could probably get it into a 512 by 512, but then we kind of have this aspect that's new to us, which is our environments are catering to the enemies. It just means it's a fancy way of saying there are roads and we put tanks on them, right? And so I wanted to kind of think about, okay, cool, if this is the biggest size closest to the camera, so if the road was down here, then what would a scale down size look like, and then a scale down size, you know? And so these guys are a little bit smaller in the background, right? So I was just starting to play around with, okay, you know, at what point do they not become menacing, you know, and how far in the background can we put them? And if the player's flying around, you know, I think it's this particular concept we did. I think this works. Like, I could see shooting these, I can see shooting these, right? I think we could even get away. Maybe it was probably a little too small here. Hi, I'm a little tank. But we could probably maybe get away with one other layer. Like, if there's a road up here, you know, like you could, you know, like get out further. It could be that you might get away with this, but at some point we start to lose the shape. But that's okay too, because I think, you know, again, we're in this like a Cumenopolis, and it's 30 cities stacked on top of each other, and so we're gonna have some very interesting creative opportunities to really make use of the whole screen to make you feel like you're in this overwhelming city, that you're going down into the depths. You know, it's stylish and designed, and I think that, you know, like that's a big part of what we're really exploring this time around, as opposed to in Interstellar 1, where we primarily only had the main playfield, the very foreground. We did a very light kind of road thing for like the forest and a few other things, just kind of like a path. So this is a whole new aspect for us to explore, and we're still exploring it. So that's why I thought I would do this too. For the next concept, this is probably enough. I could already take this and put it into the game. How about I'll do that? Let's see if I have time tonight. But anyways, okay, I'm mumbling. All right, so that's my feedback. I like where we're going. I think we're definitely zeroing in on a design here, and I think let's take these considerations and then just do another rinse and wash and see what we come up with. Thank you very much, and of course, for for the folks that are following along, that are watching the videos, that are commenting, feel free. All questions, comments, this is the time. At some point, the train leaves the station. So if you're here real time, or even if it's a few days, it's all valuable. We're paying attention to it. And, it makes you just a little bit more included in the process. So thank you very much. And we'll talk to you all soon.